Welcome in to the fall sports season premiere of Inside Lebanon Warriors Athletics here on LebanonWarriors.com and ESPN Media powered by Sidearm Sports. My name is Jason Griefer. We're happy to be joined once again this season by Lebanon Athletic Director Keith Pantling. Keith, good to have you back here. I know we got a chance to briefly speak this past Friday at the football game, which was an event in itself, and we'll get to that a little bit later on in the podcast. But before we get into our discussion of our fall athletics here, we're still dealing with a pandemic, if you will. And at this point, can you just give the Lebanon fan base out there to kind of an update of where we stand as far as COVID policies, masking policies at Lebanon for folks that want to attend either the indoor or the outdoor events there?
Sure. So currently at Lebanon, anyone coming to one of our home events, there is no mask mandate, although it's obviously highly recommended. Our road games we'll send out to families on a game-by-game basis, depending on where we're traveling. Obviously, our conference covers, I believe, at least 4 counties for the majority of our schedules, cover several counties. So, requirements and recommendations and policies at different schools are all very different. So we'll be sharing those with families of those particular sports as the season goes on. So continue to just stay updated, and we'll provide information. As you know, things change pretty rapidly, day to day, week to week, month to month, and we'll share information as we can, and we continue to work through stuff. But as of right now, fans are welcome. War Zone's welcome. It's been a lot of fun so far, seeing people back in the stands and cheering people on. But obviously, we want to keep the seasons going and do things as safe as possible. So we'll continue to provide information as it comes out.
Off to a good start in that regard. Let's jump in and let's start talking about some of your student athletes and teams and what they're doing thus far early in the season. Let's start with your cross-country teams here. We're entering year 2 in the ECC at Lebanon, but the cross-country teams enter as the defending champs. Going to host a meet this weekend after running at the Bob Schul Invite last weekend, which, pretty good start to the year. The girls win the thing. The boys finished 4th. So really good way to kick off the season. I'm wondering, from what you've been able to see or talking to the coaches, how the runners, both the girls and the boys, have looked in training, and also how the coaches have managed the runners in all of the heat and humidity we've had around the area the last few weeks.
Yeah, I was going to say, so that I learned a lot in ways that you can adapt to training with the heat and everything, working through Coach Bierkin. But obviously what they've done has paid off with the way they performed this past weekend. It was interesting because they start so much later. So they're literally just running without having a race for almost a month on top of the training that they do over the summer months. So for us to be this late into August and just have their first event was certainly interesting. But now we get to host our home meet, which we do every year on Labor Day weekend. So we have over 25 teams here this Saturday morning. So I know they're really looking forward to that. But you look at the returning of last year, our girls team made it to this state for the first time. And obviously lost Faith Duncan, who was and some other seniors who were great runners. But Abby Taylor finished 6th, Alina Wilson, Grace Glassmeyer, Hannah Glassmeyer, Riley McKinney, 5 finished in the top 13. So, they left, right where they left off last year. They're continuing to perform. And then on the boys' side, Trejo, Purdy, both in the top 30. Trejo finished 7th at Milton Union. So just like last year, just a great group of runners that push each other. And, Coach will have them ready to go as they progress through the season.
Let's move on to the links here, and let's talk about your golf teams. We'll start with the boys first. And interesting season they've had thus far. They struggle in the ECC preview, finishing 5th overall, but apparently some adjustments were made because they've just started rolling ever since. They sit atop the ECC at 4-0 on the season in match play. And I'm just wondering, looking at this thing as I was putting my notes together, what changed from the ECC preview heading into match play, and do they think it can be sustained?
Yeah, I don't know. Must just be the course has changed, maybe, or the weather. I'm not really sure, but 4-0 in conference play, certainly a great accomplishment. Long way to go. Low scores. Owen Maccabee and freshman Peyton Lawley both have carded 37s this year, which is awesome. So just continue to progress through and push on through the season. And they're a great group to watch. I look forward to watching them here soon.
Over on the girls' side, it has been a peculiar start to the year, I would say. Looking at things right now, the record is 0-4 and 0-3 in the league. But you go deeper in the numbers. Those 3 league losses have been by fewer than 15 strokes each time out. So it's just a putt here, a chip there, and you're turning things around. But we also look even deeper. You have the leading scorer in the ECC right now in Riley Johnson, and she is more than 2 strokes ahead of the rest of the field in the ECC as well. Lindsay Donahue is 13th in scoring right now. A very interesting way to start the season. What do you and the coaches make of the way things have started, and that you have some low scores, and yet you've dropped some very, very close matches?
Well, I think in the game of golf, and speaking with Coach Russell, is you just want to be finding PRs, right? It's all about improving your game, and then the team results will come. But you talk about sophomore Riley Johnson, who shot that 72 in the ECC preview to take home first place there. Mm-hmm. Sophomore Lindsay Donahue shot 38 at Harmon over 9 holes. So top to bottom, finding PRs and improving. Obviously, there's a lot less room for improvement for someone like Riley, who's shooting par. But some of those other folks on the team, to take off a couple strokes each week is a real possibility. And then team results start coming, but they're having a great time. They're improving week to week, and that's all you can ask for.
And still a long way to go in the season. I'm assuming the coaches are telling the girls, hey, if we continue on the path we're on, the strokes are going to keep coming down, and these close losses are going to start turning into wins. Would that be the idea?
Absolutely.
All right. So we'll be keeping a track on that moving forward. Let's move on to the pitch, and let's start talking about the boys first here. A nice start early on in the season, picking up non-conference wins over Fairmont and Miamisburg in there. We got Fenwick coming up. Anderson to start league play is coming up here this week. It's the beginning of a four-game stretch on the road there. This is a team that was a tough way to go in its first year in the ECC a year ago, but this is a new year. Some guys back, they're maturing and moving forward there. How have they looked in the preseason leading up to the start of the year? And then once the season gets started, how have they felt once they've been out on the pitch?
Well, they're working extremely hard. And one of the things we kind of emphasized in the off season was just kind of that culture and togetherness and galvanizing the group, because it is quite the gauntlet of a schedule going through the ECC. And that was certainly something we learned last year. Just 2 goals given up in 3 games is pretty remarkable. So it's just a real gritty group that is going to find ways to win. And you mentioned the schedule upcoming: Fenwick, Anderson, Alter, the next 3 games. They continue to play top level soccer, and just have to stay the course and keep working hard. Did want to bring up that remarkable goal last game in that 1-0 win. Tamir Whitaker from 50 yards out, just sent in a prayer and got the goalie backpedaling. It's an early ESPYs nominee for sure for play of the year. So those of you that saw it, or if the video had surfaced, pretty cool deal for the boys soccer team. But again, 2-1 and some top-notch competition to prepare for that ECC schedule for sure.
Over on the girls' side, they've been in 4 very tight matches to start the season. They've split the 4 to start things off here. So you've got wins over Sycamore and Fairmont to get things going on the year. And obviously, league play is just right around the corner for them. They're going to get Anderson and Walnut Hills coming up here in the next couple of weeks. And I'm looking at the way things have started thus far. And again, very tight matches: 1-0 win over Sycamore, 2-1 losses to Springboro, Miamisburg, and then he bounced back with a 2-1 win over Fairmont. But digging deeper, your keeper, Lucy Martin, right now leading the ECC in saves with 23 thus far. And through 4 matches, it's great that she's leading the league. But you could also look at it from the other side. That's a lot of shots she's had to stop thus far there. That's a lot of pressure to be add on her. I know that, and I'm sure the coaching staff is confident in her abilities, because she's making all these saves and not giving up a lot of goals. Just 5 goals in 4 games thus far. But is there any concern going forward with the fact that she is facing so many shots on a nightly basis?
Yeah, perhaps. I haven't really spoken to Coach too much about that. I think Coach is just really proud of it's an inexperienced group, not necessarily young, but inexperienced. And they lost a couple key players literally over the offseason on, I believe it was the same day, Crosley Kessler and Danny Hicks, who was a first team all conference player as a junior. Both tore their ACL. They rehabbing together and both out for the season. And so they kind of took a hit there and just had to rely on some people to step up. And it really brought the group together. And I mentioned that word grit, and that's something that Coach Edmonds brought up, that they're just a really gritty group and have to find ways to overcome the loss of some of that talent and find new people stepping up. But Alex Wilson and Joe Rogers have done a great job offensively. You mentioned Lucy and Net, but the D's continuing to step up. Rachel McCool, Mo Edmonds, Savannah Judah. They just have a really deep team, and they're going to continue to work and improve. I can assure you that. So, yeah, perhaps just limiting shots or whatever they need to do strategically. Coach will figure that out. But just proud of the girls and the way they're competing. And especially as we mentioned, soccer in this conference is no easy task. So they learned last year that it's you got to just overcome the previous game, move on to the next one, because it doesn't get any easier.
So as the coaching staff is trying to find new adjustments, new lineups, rotating, as you said, inexperienced players in there after losing a couple of key pieces due to injury, have you sensed maybe an extra boost of confidence knowing that Lucy has been playing so well to start the year and making all of these saves and keeping your team in all of its matches thus far?
Yeah, I know Coach Edmonds is incredibly proud of her. But as I mentioned, as you're getting meaningful minutes from those inexperienced players, I think that the play is going to improve as the year goes on.
And a long way to go as well. And we're just kicking off league play as well. And so we'll see how well Lucy Martin continues to play, but a really good start thus far. Let's switch gears and let's move on to the tennis courts. They're nearly 3 weeks into the season, and it's been a struggle.
It's a tough schedule they got there.
Yes, it is.
But
yeah. I'm wondering if we need to have a conversation with the guy that put that schedule together. Wink, wink. But nevertheless, nevertheless, here it's been a tough start. And as you said, against a very, very difficult schedule. The team is winless right now, and still with a lot of conference action left to be had. Though, how much has that tough schedule played in to this start for the team, and what's their confidence level at right now, knowing that they've played just one hammer after another and unfortunately have been coming up short?
So coach is really proud of them. I think he's proud of the fact that they're competitive in all those matches, having a really young team. So just two seniors that will be graduating, and then the growth of the program. So we have 11 kids on the junior varsity. So just continuing to grow the program, grow the game. I think practice is where the focus is right now. The results will come in matches, but yeah, we play one heck of a schedule, and that's intentional. I think by coach to continue to expose them to the level of where they can be or need to be, or what they're going to see on a regular basis in the conference. So they continue to work and improve, and I know he's really, really proud of the growth and improvement that they're seeing in the program, especially those younger kids that don't necessarily appear in the box score, but are out there practicing every day. As I mentioned, 11 JV players. So just continuing to grow the program and improve every day.
And just work on those building blocks as you go forward. As you said, that'll eventually pay off in match play there for sure. Let's move gears and let's move on to the football field and talk about your team there. It's been a very, very eventful 2 weeks to start the season. Of course, we lose the opener against Springboro because of COVID protocol, so that game gets called off. We shift to Miamisburg this past week. We were there broadcasting that on Flow Sports, and we're getting going. The players are warming up at their usual time, and then all of a sudden, Mother Nature decides, no, I have other ideas. And we almost forced a postponement. I know in hearing things, it seemed like we were right on the edge of maybe moving the game to Saturday. Things led up. We were able to get the game in after about a 75-minute delay. And then once things get started, Miamisburg really imposed its will, especially running the football. They brought a lot of guys back from a year ago. Miamisburg wins the game 35-14. The weather made things kind of sloppy for both teams throughout the night. Warriors are breaking a new starting quarterback. So a lot of things are going on. I know there were a couple of key players that were out due to injury as well. How much do you think not having week one maybe hurt the kids in this game here? And maybe were there some like opening nerves, what have you? And where do you think things go from there as you move forward into league play this coming week with West Claremont?
Yeah, I certainly don't like making excuses. And if you were to ask Coach, he wouldn't want to make them either. I don't think it's necessarily missing that week one game. I think it's the practices with the quarantines and things, maybe not having that offensive group together for the weeks leading up. But that's a long time coming. You know, it was 5 weeks since the start of camp before they first took the field. But give Miamisburg credit. I think last year we ended up beating them late in the year, and they were much more of a spread team. Kind of came out with some big burleys there, as you mentioned, returning players, and turned it into a ground and pound game. So that may have surprised us a little bit, but that's the game of football. And as a coach I worked with for a long time always said, snap and clear. Don't let one play beat you twice or one game beat you twice. So they're going to move on, and all their goals and aspirations are ahead of them in terms of conference play, and obviously additional teams making the playoffs and all those things. There's a lot to look forward to. So I don't mean to be brief, but I think that's the mentality around here. We're going to keep it short and move on to next week, right?
Absolutely. Is that the message being professed to the players, though, to your point that, you know, everything is still in front of us? We had a 1-game non-conference season. Now we move into league play. And, you know, despite this game not going in our favor, everything we want is still in front of us.
Yeah, I think it's just staying positive, dealing with adversity, and picking up each other to say, you know, what can we learn from this? I know they had a good film session on Saturday to go through and learn about where maybe deficiencies are, or where personnel changes need to come, or what they can do better. Coaches, players, everybody involved. I know we certainly did from a logistical standpoint, you know, in my position, just from operating a game. I mean, that's the mentality you have to keep, is how do we improve? How do we get better going into next week? Relatively healthy coming out of the game. Unfortunately, missing some players due to injuries, even going into that game that may continue to be out the next couple of weeks. But for the most part, just got to snap and clear, as I said, and move on.
And we'll move on here and finish our discussion this week talking about your volleyball team. Of course, it's year 2 in the league for Lebanon, as we've discussed here. And obviously, we know what happened last year. We ran through the league unbeaten and to the league championship. But obviously, some changes this year. Coach Michael Crofton moves on. You bring in Coach Mike Bryant. He's getting going here. You drop the opener in straight sets to St. Ursula, but nice turnaround this past week and getting a road sweep against Turpin. It's a pretty good way to turn things around there, to get things going there. Obviously, we also lost ECC player of the year, Emery Spittler. So some new players having to step in, and of course, some key returners back as well. Now that you've had a chance to see this group in action early on in the season, how has Coach Bryant looked to you early on, now that you've seen him work with the girls, especially the returners, and seeing him work in the sidelines?
It's been great. He brings so much, insight from his experience to the girls, to the program. I think it's been great to watch, and the girls have been really receptive. You mentioned losing Emery Spittler, but the core group of people are still remain, so that the high expectations, the culture of winning in that program is still there. So it's been a pretty seamless transition, and been great for him to come in and kind of provide a spark with his style and his energy and his leadership. But you mentioned a big week of ECC matches Tuesday at Kings. We scrimmaged them earlier in the year, and I know Coach said they outperformed us, and they have a young group of talent as well. So that's one of the big ECC matches that was circled on the calendar early on. Anderson's coming in tonight, which I'm excited to get to watch our team perform this evening. But you look at Nina, Miranda, Lily Bolin, Elena DeMichael, those are kind of, or Lily Cropper, our captains, and then Lily Bolin stepping in for Emery, and and Maya White, who was just had a ferocious year as a freshman, now a sophomore. So a lot of experience back, and looking forward to their journey this year.
And, with the win over Turpin extending that ECC win streak to 17 in a row. But again, a lot to be had throughout the rest of the season. We'll be talking about it as things go along here, but still really good start to the fall sports season all around. Keith, certainly appreciate you taking some time to talk to us about it here today, and we'll look forward to it again in 2 weeks.
Yep. Just want to give a shout out to Lebanon Cheer for all that they do, as always. And our War Zone, who's back in action and doing great things. Just got to make sure they're behaving, but love that they're here. And we'll keep that train moving. So thank you.
They have made it a very fun environment there. We had the first volleyball matchup, and then obviously football there. They've made it a very, very fun atmosphere. So, folks, if you haven't gone out, come on out and check out the Warrior Athletes. They're already off to a really good starts on the year, and it's allowed us to talk about it here with Lebanon Athletic Director Keith Pantling here at Inside Lebanon Warriors Athletics here on LebanonWarriors.com and ESP Media powered by Sidearm Sports.